Welcome to Dad's DeFi Space. I'm Kevin, and I'm so grateful that you've taken a moment out of your day to spend it with me, your guide to all things crypto and DeFi. Today, we're going to be taking a look at why did Bitcoin and the crypto market bleed the way it did over the last 48 hours? Is this going to continue, or are we going to have a rebound? Now, there were more forced liquidations in the Bitcoin market over the last 48 hours than there has been in a long time. Now, how does this affect the markets? Well, if you were here early, let's take a look at crypto bubbles, and I think you'll get an idea of what this looks like. Yeah, tell me about it. It is red on the day, as you can see. It's red on the week, even worse. Some of our favorites, Plume, Aave, World Mobile Token, they're down 15, 20%, Juke, 20%, Render, 20%, Dog, 17%, SOL, 14%. The altcoin market looks horrendous. Gosh, virtual 26%. And that did affect our crystal vault, but we're going to keep farming that one as we believe the price will go back up. So let's take a look at the total crypto market and conditions, and then we'll move on from there. So Bitcoin right now is sitting at about 113,000, Ethereum 3,453, BNB 743, Solana 160, XRP $2.82. Fear and greed was in the greed range. We have already gone back into neutral, and we're kind of inching towards the fear range, sitting at 51. Altcoin season index is slowly moving back into Bitcoin, because if you checked Bitcoin dominance, it has gone back up. And we're going to take a look at that in a minute with the charts. And then later in the video, we're going to talk about the AERO DEX, the black hole DEX, the Solana versus Ethereum, RWA. We're going to take a look at AERO Finance if we have enough time. But the main point of this live stream today is to take a look at the current conditions. Are we going to keep this downtrend going on, or is Bitcoin and the crypto market going to correct? Now, let's take a quick look at the chart before we move on to the next. And I wanted to start with this. Right now, you're looking at AERO Finance. We were going over some we're going to have an upcoming video, a deep dive into new events with Aerodrome, price prediction, et cetera, et cetera. That'll be coming out in a few days, hopefully, along with a Bitcoin, Ethereum strategy video and a few more things in the pipeline. Now, let's take a look before we begin, because this is not just Bitcoin that went in a downtrend. We're in a downtrend with the stock market, as you can see here. We took a dip over the last day and a half from around 64.25 all the way down to 62.17, which is about a 4% drop. This is nothing in the crypto space, but in the traditional markets, 3-4% in a day, that's pretty drastic. That's like 10 to 20 in the crypto market. Now, let's take a look at, the DYX chart. Now, the DYX is the dollar chart, and as you can see, we topped out at around $1.02. We took a massive dump over the last 24 hours. What's interesting is this is when the crypto downtrend was happening. The dollar was going up. So I like to see this dollar continue down, but we're just going to have to wait and see, because it's looked pretty bullish over the last week right here. So how did this affect Bitcoin? Well, before we get into the Bitcoin chart, which I posted about on X. Anything I talk about here ends up on X first. So if you want the information first, add me at CryptoZone 1013, or just add our free Telegram group where I go over this stuff daily, along with protocol news, leverage trades, different DeFi plays, et cetera, et cetera. We'd love to see you in the Telegram group. Check out the link below or find us on dadsdefispace.org and join the group over there. Now, if we scroll down into this thread that I posted earlier today, we're going to take a look at the liquidation map over the last 48 hours. As you can see, there was a ton of liquidations around this like 117 range, and then a little bit more on the bottom of the range right here. Now, I did want to show you this. Now, if I lower this down, or excuse me, I can't lower this down. If you were to lower this down to 24 hours, and by the way, we're just looking at Binance here. The liquidity zones are very narrow within the range. I wouldn't be surprised if we grab this. This is probably one of the most difficult markets to trade. And that's why right now we're really just in a long, but I may be deleveraging it because, I mean, if we break 112.8, we could see some lower numbers. And we'll talk about that once we look at the charts. But these liquidations are just those degens in the market playing with too much leverage, and the big players love to wipe them out. The exchanges love to wipe them out, so always keep that in mind. Be careful with your trading. Always take profits, set a stop loss, don't use too much leverage, and all those things that you hear the smart people in this space preach about. All right, let's take a look now at Bitcoin dominance before we actually look at the Bitcoin chart. So Bitcoin dominance has gone back into an uptrend, as you can see. Now, we were within this upper trend zone. We're nowhere near that, but we look like we're going to tap this resistance at 62%. And if the market continues with what it's done over the last 48 hours, Bitcoin dominance is going to keep going up. I mean, we could easily revisit 64%. And if this happens, altcoins are going to bleed, which if you are bullish and you are degen a little bit, might be a good time to establish positions. Not financial advice, of course. And remember, nothing in this stream or any of my videos is financial advice. I'm just a dad who enjoys playing around and experiencing the crypto and DeFi space. Now, looking at this, I'm hoping that we get a rejection around 62% and then start to head back down, because I don't see any way how there's going to be any kind of alt season. And once we got to break below this is like 60% mark. Okay. All right. Let's take a look at Bitcoin, and then we'll move into some of the news and events for today. First and foremost, if we take a look at the Bitcoin chart, you see a whole bunch of lines, and these lines are all the different support and resistance levels that I've been looking at since this initial massive pump that occurred after 68,000. There are actually ones that have lower than this, but then we're getting back almost into bear market ranges. What I want to really pay attention to is this part of the chart. You can see where we marked our uptrend here. Now, we kind of missed the top here, but I see this as a short-term move. And but this short-term move could easily go from now into October or even November. It's hard to say. None of us in this space who you listen to are going to be able to predict the future, including myself. Now, what I wanted to talk about, though, is just Bitcoin and some of the price movements. As you can see, our current price is sitting at 113,131. And our recent top before this breakdown was sitting right at 116,000, or really like 115.8. I have it marked on my chart at 116 with this line here. And then our other lower resistance level was 113,248, which we are actually trading below. Now, our support level, near-term support zone that we must maintain, or there's going to be more downside, in my opinion, is this 110.6 to 112K range. These are extremely important for Bitcoin to maintain and for the bulls to step in and take control. But right now, the bears are truly in control. You can see this in the volume, you can see this in the chart, and you can hear that within the sentiment. Right now, where I'm going to really be worried is if we break the major demand zone. And right now, the major demand zone is basically sitting where this blue line is, right by my white arrow in the chart at about $96,000. So a break below 96.5, I'm going to start worrying. That doesn't per se mean the bull market's completely over, but it's sure starting to look that way if we were to break below 96K. So we're going to have to keep an eye on this because nobody knows and nobody can tell the future. Now, if I go back to a different chart, because this is one that I posted on X, this is a weeks chart. You can check out our links below for weeks and Blowfin. Lots of USDT offers and new reward offers. Check those out in the description. Help to support the channel. And if you take a look at this chart, we were trading right around between 114, 115. This chart's from yesterday. Hold on. Yeah, sorry about that. Let me pull up a different chart real quick. Pulled up the wrong chart on X. I'm sorry. We're going to take a look at let's see if this is a good one. Yeah, we can use this one. My support levels are different on this. I'm going to have to speed this up a little bit. It looks like Daddy Duty is calling. I'm going to take this off. That's not the right one. So we didn't want to look at the MACD strategy. I just want to pull up the MACD. There we go. Let's see if this one works. Yep. All right, there we go. So there is a nasty bearish crossover on the MACD right here. As you can see, if you go up, we still trended up, but we've kind of been in a downtrend after a few days of movement. The histogram is red, meaning bearish momentum, but some of the momentum in the market is fading after that last top at 123. Now, our stochastic RSI is deeply in the oversold territory, although this happened over the last 48 hours. You can see the orange cross right here where the downtrend began. Now, if we get a bullish crossover, which it looks like we're trying to do on the RSI right there, there's a possibility we could have a short-term small pump, in my opinion. And the volume confirmation, it's not really shown here. But if I take off the MACD, hold on, and then we look at our volume, and we pull the volume up on the chart, now you can see what I'm talking about. So if you see volume increase, price going up, that's a good sign. We'll probably be taking profits on our long, not the whole position, but a ton of it. If this happens, probably around the 116-ish range-ish, 116.5, 4 right here. I have actual ladder out points that I post within my Telegram group if you're interested in things like that. Anyway, the next thing I wanted to talk about is just summarize what Bitcoin is looking, which remember, Bitcoin leads the market. We have a short-term bearish bias, right? It's bearish to neutral. We had that massive dump, but next, it's hard to say. If we break below that 110 to 112, there's more bearishness in the picture. If we don't, then maybe we can maintain and start to grind back up to 120. So our risk area is basically a break below 110 to 10 down to 104, 105. I'm hoping that that does not happen, but there's people out there right now screaming a return to 100K. Now, I'm not saying we'll return to 100K. In fact, if more people start screaming that, I think there could be a correction before we get all the way, or excuse me, a bounce off the bottom before we get that far. But the future will tell. All right. Now I'd like to take a look at Ethereum Bitcoin. As you can see, Ethereum is bleeding back into Bitcoin over the last 3 days. We're still within our trend line. I'm hoping that we'll maintain support around this 0.03 level that I was talking about in my video that I have not edited yet. But I'm saying it now. A break below the 0.03, we could easily revisit 0.02A or as low as 0.02A or maybe even 0.029 if we break below the 0.03 level. We have had a downward cross on the stochastic RSI here, not looking too hot. We'd like to see the blue lines start to trend back up. We'll just have to wait and see. But this chart's looking extremely bearish. And if I pull up the total 2 or the total 3 market cap, this is all the altcoins minus Ethereum and minus Bitcoin. Massive bleed over the last week. That is the downtrend that you have just experienced. Our support is sitting around $923.5 billion. And then I would like to see us get back up and reclaim this kind of general support area around $1 trillion and the top of the range at $100.08 trillion. That would be nice to see. What I would like to do now that we've looked at a bunch of the market, we're not even going to look at many altcoin charts today. Now, I will say tell you this: when Sway broke below this breakout zone, it was around like $300.40. We bought a large amount of Sway, and we did the exact same thing with AVAX. Even though it hasn't quite gotten all the way down to support yet, but there's this like kind of lower or kind of midterm support here at $21. We went ahead and did a massive purchase there. And then this one I think actually looks pretty bad. We could get all the way back down to like $1.06. If we break below there, go down to 91 cents. And then, I mean, we're really looking as low as even in the 50 cents range. So I'm getting really concerned about virtuals. If we break below this 104 range, I'll probably cut a lot of my position just to be on the safe side. But that's virtual protocol. That chart's not looking too hot. Ondo Finance, another favorite of ours. We've retraced all the way back down to this 84 cents area, which is we labeled earlier an excellent place to buy Ondo before this pump occurred. We also were looking at 83 cents and then down here kind of like in this general range of support around 78, 79 cents. Hopefully we don't break much lower than that. But the zero range on this went as low as 67 cents on Ondo. So Tao's another one. Ran well, bled terribly. We've been dollar cost averaging into Tau, but I've kind of upped how much I'm doing on a daily and weekly basis. We are right down almost in our support range, and I plan on buying the crap out of this one between, $300 and $350. All right. So now that we've talked, there's one more I wanted to look at before I moved on, and that's Aerodrome Finance. We looked at this one was on our screen at the beginning of the stream. It has been on a massive downtrend, as you can see here. We're sitting at it right around 75 cents, and we could drop, in my opinion, as low as, say, 66 cents. So, again, if you're bullish on AERO, I like this area to accumulate, but we're mainly just farming, and I'm not buying AERO actively right now, but we'll have to wait and see what happens over the next little bit. And that brings me to some of the news stories that I would like to talk about today, beginning with Aerodrome and Black Hole. Now, Aerodrome, if you watch this channel, you know that it is the largest liquidity hub and DEX on Base. It's mainly dealing with Base network only. And then we have this new DEX that's on the Avalanche blockchain that I have not dove into yet, but I will. And that's called Black Hole. And this article is talking about Aerodrome and Black Hole being some of the DeFi breakouts in this next leg up or final leg up of this market cycle. And they're just capturing a lot of attention, a lot of liquidity, and both represent growth stories, one within Ethereum's base layer 2 network, that being Aerodrome, and then Black Hole, which is presenting a DEX bullish thesis on Avalanche. And they have achieved over $200 million total value lock within just a few weeks of launching, which is crazy. And people are over there trading meme coins and, well, right now probably selling and shorting would be my guess. But I did want to make you aware of both those DEX in this space. If you're going to play the DeFi game, you really need to follow where the liquidity is going. Next, I wanted to kind of change gears, and we're going to take a look at some of the bullishness and kind of fights that are about to happen in the RWA space. And this article sums it up greatly. Is Solana winning the RWA wars against Ethereum? It's kind of hard to say who's going to come out on top, but I know what my personal opinion is. This is going to be led by institutional investors. The institutional investors are going to be more likely to use the Ethereum blockchain. It's more secure, more known, older, larger, more liquidity. End of story. But Solana has a very good thesis. I do think more retail traders will trade tokenized stocks and securities on Solana because of the low fees and fast transaction speed. Now, we know that Avalanche, Ondo, many other chains are trying to get into this RWA game. But I don't think this tokenization is going anywhere. Please check out our video on Solana X stocks and how you can trade them on the Jupiter DEX aggregator or any of the DEXs such as Radium is probably the best to use, or just utilize Jupiter. I think that's awesome. And finally, that brings me to my last piece of news, which is a little bit of humor here, and that is Eric Trump. So Eric Trump is screaming on X again, buy the dip on Bitcoin and ETH. Now, do you all remember what happened last time Eric Trump posted about the bullishness of Ethereum? Yeah, we went on a massive downtrend. So Eric Trump, please, please, please don't speak about it too much. I do want a little bit lower prices because it would be nice to buy a little bit more for my bags, but at the same time, don't be doing this during when we're trying to sell out and try to realize some of our profits. Now, next thing I wanted to look at is our Crystal Vault. We're getting down towards the end of our stream. Not going to do any moves. The vault has not, excuse me, I'm kind of hoarse today. The vault has not performed very well over the last 2 days, but none of the market has. Right now, the share price is sitting at 90 cents. That's a massive downtrend. My total value locked is also down. Some of the people who were involved in the vault have exited out, which is fine. I am not exiting out of my own vault, but I am going to make some changes. And we are down to two positions, a virtual USDC, $500 and $984 of wrapped Ethereum USDC. Now, any money that goes into this right now, I'm going to be mainly putting into Ethereum USDC until I feel bullishness has come back into the market. Then we can build back into some other positions. So far, this wrapped ETH USDC, I'm looking at about an $8 P&L loss and an $80 P&L loss in this virtual position, which we should have exited more of. We did exit around $300 worth out of this position, $260 worth, but we should have exited more. We could have held that on the side, dollar cost average back into the Ethereum USDC, and probably be sitting a little prettier right now, but that's okay. All right. That is okay. So that's just a quick little update of what our Crystal Vault portfolio looks like. If I go into the wrapped Ethereum USDC position, we are considering widening out our range or going to a single range rather than it being automated. We won't earn as much income, but the position will get more capital appreciation as bullishness comes back into the market, which I think will serve the fund better. As you can see here on our range, take a snapshot if you'd like to. Our current range is 3,350 to 3,785. And then we have a lower range of 3,169 to 3,573, and then 3,537 to 3,989. Now we may be considering running a $3,000 to $4,000 range, which will capture all of the ups and downs, and then, a little bit bullishness come back into the markets. So I hope that this stream today has been a little bit informative. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the chat. We talked a lot about the Aerodrome and the black hole DEX. We talked much about price movements and the effects of some of the effects on the market. Now, if you really wanted to get down to summarize why the market is as bad as it is, check out my thread on X that we published earlier today. And you'll see that Donald Trump, and I did put this news up, ordered nuclear subs to be deployed. He blasted the Federal Reserve. He has fired a labor data analyst. Maybe we're not getting rate cuts as soon as we thought. And maybe the market has figured it out. And maybe that's why we have the drop that we had. $200 million of liquidations. BTC futures collapsed. Risk off comes back into play. We got to avoid being wrecked. So the traders were wiped out, especially the ones on big leverage. We did not do very well on one of our Bitcoin long positions that we got stopped out on. And what does this really mean? There is political instability, hawkish monetary sentiment, and an over-leveraged market structure. These are basically the causes of the Bitcoin crash, whether you want to call it manipulation or not. So what do we need to pay attention to? We need to make sure that we still maintain support above that 112.8, 113K region. We need to pay attention to the resistance between 118 and 120K and understand that we are still going to probably chop within a range. Volatility will likely continue. So it may be time for us, myself, to consider wider ranges in any of these liquidity positions or moving more into single position pools or lending where you don't earn as much yield, but you can get more of that price appreciation, more of that in the future. So if no one has any questions, because we have been on the stream for almost, 30 minutes, I'm going to call it a day, and I hope you all enjoy your Saturday, enjoy your weekend. I appreciate each and every one of you. Check out dadsdefispace.org, our free Telegram, our private group, Crypto Zone 1013 on X, Dad DeFi 1013 on Telegram. Take profits, go outside, touch some grass. Don't worry, the market will go back up. Peace.